Hey guys, it's Sean O'Connell, the managing director here at CinemaBlend, bringing you a movie review of the new Netflix film, The Old Guard. It's one of those movies that, back in another time, we expected to come to theaters, but we're thrilled that Netflix is bringing it to their streaming service on July 10th so that we have new content to talk about and new films to dive into. Before we get into this review, go down, hit subscribe, turn on your notifications. We're reviewing movies all the time here. We're breaking down entertainment stories. We want to make sure that every time we put a new video up, you come to CinemaBlend's YouTube page and watch it immediately. I want to talk about the influences to The Old Guard because they're pretty evident, and it wears them on their sleeves, and the fact that because you have Charlize Theron, it feels like a Mad Max movie, it feels like Atomic Blonde, and it also has a lot of John Wick to it, which means that it's heavy on action and fighting and combat and murder. Charlize and three other co-stars in the film, the four-man team that they make up, are immortal.
Let's just say we're very hard to kill.
Which means that they can't be killed for a long period of time, but they do get killed repeatedly in the movie and then come back from it. Now, there is a threat that after you die too many times as one of these immortals, you do stop coming back.
One day your wounds just don't heal up anymore. We don't know when.
It is a lot to understand.
So they put themselves in danger repeatedly, wondering if this is going to be the last time that they die and actually don't come back. So that's a really interesting approach for an action film, and it means that the director has to really play around with how the action hits home, because it takes a little bit of suspense away when your character is immortal, but there are things that happen in each battle, each gun battle, each fist fight, that make the stakes still relatively high even though you're dealing with immortal characters. And it goes to show how much we're not talking enough about Charlize Theron and how good she is in action films. She doesn't shy away from them at all, and when I mentioned Mad Max Fury Road or even Atomic Blonde, she seeks them out actively and is really great in them, and The Old Guard reminds me about how good she is in these roles. She's really adept with guns, she's really adept in fist fights, holds her own throughout all this physicality. She's a full-blown action star, and we kind of don't have a ton of action stars that we lean on right now as bankable characters, so I love to see her back in this part, and I think if you enjoy Charlize Theron in bone-crunching action, you should tune into this movie just for that reason alone.
Everyone's still with me?
Yeah.
Joe?
I'm very pissed off.
Then let's go to work.
Beyond the scope of the action, though, because it can get a little bit tiring, especially since we've seen 3 John Wicks and multiple Mad Max films, and of course the Atomic Blonde, you need a story to hook into, and I think that the story on display here is really dense and interesting and very surprising, too. I love the mythology that's being portrayed here.
We met in the Crusades.
The Crusades?
We killed each other
Many times.
And they do go back and show throughout history how their actions as a team of assassins have changed the course of major events of our history. And so you get to see Charlize going through really important periods in history and putting her fingerprints all over them. And I found that to be really cool. I like that the film dove into how long they have been working as this team. So essentially, they get hired by different people to right wrongs and to stop certain things from happening at crucial points in our history. But in this story in particular, and here's where I want to dance around spoilers, they're getting hired by certain people, but they're being betrayed by certain people, and it's one of those ones where you never actually know who's on their side and who isn't on their side, so they almost have to race the clock to not only complete the ultimate mission, but to figure out who is an ally and who's a villain. And I'm not going to get into any of that, but I'll say that the movie does a really good job of keeping you on your toes and off balance in knowing who's with them. But throughout the course of even just delivering the cool sort of action-heavy premise, I loved how it stopped and explained how long they've been doing it. And the reason why they're able to do that is because Charlize Theron's character, Andy, comes across a new immortal.
You can't die. Get up.
Can you please not do that again?
There's a soldier played by KiKi Layne who gets killed in the act of combat and realizes that she can resurrect. And it's the first time she's able to do it. And all of the other immortals are aware of her presence because the minute that she does it, they sort of tune into her vibe, essentially. And half of them want to go find her because they remember what it was like when they first realized they were immortal, and the other half wants to stay focused on the mission.
You're one of us now.
walk out of here like always, together.
So by bringing KiKi Layne's character in, she becomes the stand-in for us, because she learns about their mythology as we learn about it, and the chemistry she has with Charlize is really, really great, and she's fantastic as this soldier who is being introduced to the world of immortals and having to learn on the fly as they get through it. It leads to some really, really interesting sequences.
I think she has potential. See, you're already healing faster. You're gonna do great.
With all due respect to Netflix, a compliment that I want to give to the movie is that it belongs in theaters. And in any other sort of, time frame where we weren't affected by a pandemic and movie theaters weren't closed, you absolutely would be buying a ticket to go see this on a big screen. And it asks for big screen treatment. I'll go back to things like John Wick or Atomic Blonde. Like, these are where we see Charlize Theron on the big screen just kicking all sorts of ass. And it was cool to be able to see it on Netflix streaming service and be available in our living rooms when we're waiting for content. I miss being able to go see these action-heavy films in theaters, and The Old Guard absolutely belongs on the silver screen. Part of the reason why I'm going to give it my final star rating of 3.5 is that while it's original and has a very cool concept that explores beyond where I thought it was going to, I kind of went into this thinking it was just a sort of John Wick ripoff or an Atomic Blonde sort of spinoff. I found the mythology to be a surprisingly deep analysis and a cool way to sort of lead into it. However, it's a little repetitive. It does get a little repetitive in times where, you have to stage these big action sequences and these big fight set pieces, and there is a sense of, okay, I've been here, I've done that, especially with Charlize, and she's been really good at doing it, and she's still good in doing it, but it can't escape the fact that when you have immortal protagonists, there's only so much you can do with them. That when they get hit with an axe or stabbed through the heart, you know that they're going to bounce back. And so the movie has a hard time getting past that, but not to the point where I would say don't bother checking it out, especially because it's waiting for you on Netflix starting on July 10th. So ultimately, I'm going to give the movie 3.5 stars out of 5. It surprised me, and I would definitely say give it a shot, especially if you dial into the movies that I've been referencing constantly as I talk about The Old Guard, and I think you're going to be really pleasantly surprised about where it goes. I want to hear what you guys think about it when you're able to see it on Netflix. It's got a great cast, it's got some really great action set pieces in it, a really cool mythology. I hope that it connects with you as much as it did with me. It's really great to see streaming services picking up big time titles. Netflix getting this movie, Disney Plus getting Hamilton. We're having reviews of all of these here on the YouTube page, and we're trying to keep up to date with everything that's coming out, whether it's King of Staten Island going to digital or Hamilton that I mentioned going to Disney Plus. So to make sure that you get all of the reviews that we're putting here on CinemaBlend's YouTube page, hit subscribe, turn on your notifications, and the minute that we drop a new video for you guys, it will be waiting right here for you. You can come and be the first ones to watch and comment.